On Blues Radio International, we continue our antiviral world tour. Jesse and Audrey with our friend Kevin Burt in Iowa. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well, man. Getting a little stir crazy, but doing well.
How long have you been staying in place here?
We've been staying in place basically since around the 17th of last month. Yeah, it's been a thing. It's a new it's it's really different for a musician that's used to moving.
Yeah.
It's really different. But it's been rougher on uh, I think my daughters more than anything. Maybe my wife would say different. Maybe because she's got to be around me now 24/7. I like being around her, but I make funny noises and I smell odd from time to time. So it's the thing. It's the thing. But our kids, my daughter's missing school and she's never missed school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says something right there.
Yeah.
Well, we're really pleased to have you with us today, and you're an educator, a Blues Music Award nominee, an historian, and an amazing singer-songwriter. So we can't wait to bring some of this great music to our audience. What would you like to start with today?
Since I'm talking about my kids, I may as well start in that direction. This is a little song that I wrote for my daughters. It's called "Your Smile." Um, they're my world. I wrote this song for my daughters when they were roughly 18 months and 4, and they're now 21 and 17. And so, been singing this song a long time, but the mindset when I wrote this song was as a new father, I was preparing myself for where I'm at right now, and it didn't work. It doesn't work, but the words are out there in the universe, and so this song's called "Your Smile," and I hope everybody likes it. If you don't like it, you should probably lie because the song's about my kids. So go goes like this here. I wanna see you every day and night just to make sure everything's alright because you're daddy's little girl. And you know that daddy always wants to be here for your babies and make sure everything is alright in your world. Wanna hold you in my arms, keep you safe and warm, don't you know you got your daddy screaming out loud. Each and every time you're out there, baby, doing what you do, you make your daddy so proud. You make my life worthwhile. You make my life worthwhile. Oh, darlings, when I see you smile, na 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 na. I wanna hold you in my arms and never let you go. But then, baby, you never grow, and that's not what Daddy wants at all. Daddy just wants you to understand, no matter what you do or say. Daddy gonna be here to catch your honeys if you fall. Just remember, when Daddy has to go, you know he misses you, and I know you miss me too. Oh, Daddy, can't wait to get back home again, baby, and spend my time all snuggled up with you. You make my life worthwhile. You make my life worthwhile. Oh, sugars, when I see you smile, na 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 na, just to see you smile, na 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 na. There you gonna spread your wings and fly away, and that's okay, 'cause baby daddy understands that's what you're supposed to do. Oh, and daddy's gonna cry that day, but don't you worry, baby's good. That's what daddy's supposed to do too. Just remember, no matter where you go, no matter where you roam, your daddy's waiting with open arms. Oh, to give you that big daddy bear hug, baby, as soon as you step one foot back in your home. Because you made my life worthwhile. Oh, you made my life worthwhile just to see you smile. Na 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 na. Just to see you smile. Na 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 na. Oh, when I see you smile. Na 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 na. Just to see you smile.
Wow. Absolutely stunning.
I know I'm smiling now. For sure.
The knock that I've had for a lot of years as a blues artist, and I absolutely see myself as a blues artist. The knock that I get is that I don't sound like a blues guy. I don't use the traditional 12-bar format. I don't do this. I don't do that. And the thing that has always been the trigger for me with blues has been when those artists can transcend their emotion, transmit their emotion to me. I'm a fan of folks like Son House and Booker White and those cats that they may not have changed chords in a song completely ever, and they just pound on the guitar, but the emotion is so consistent. And that component was the thing that drove me as a musician, the emotional exchange. And so to me, that's the piece that has to be present for blues to exist. And you can call it whatever you want to but once that emotional exchange happens, no matter what you're playing blues. Because that's your blues.
Oh, yeah. I've seen you many times live, and you definitely project emotion. There's no doubt about that. What you're doing, you're feeling it in that moment. I can tell. It's obvious in your playing as well. You just truly love what you're doing, and you are actually feeling it. It's like a full body feeling, and it shows. And it's amazing that you're able to do that and share it with us, because you're really bringing some amazing healing power. You're putting that out in the world, which is what everyone needs right now.
I don't disagree with you. I think there's going to be, in my personal opinion, every 12, 15 years, we see a shift in how people enjoy music. You can only, I always, my analogy is you can only eat stuff from a can for so long.
True. Yeah.
And music feeds our souls, and so no knock on anybody that's, doing music and it's what you feel, but it's those individuals that I'm doing this because I intend for it to be a hit. I'm sure that there is some artistry and some things that go along with that, but to me, an artist plays for themselves and lets other people join in. And I welcome everybody to the party, but if you choose not to stay, you're the one that's going to be told the story about what you missed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That fear of missing out is definitely real for me. And I wish that I could be in many places at once, because I know that, you know, you and your peers, the music that's being created is so original and filled with so much feeling, and it's just meant to be shared in a live environment. And I know right now, as someone who's used to being out on the road, it must be particularly hard for you to, you know, be at home eating out of cans. And you know, I'm
You know,
curious.
the harder part is the moments like this. It feels like I'm feeding out of a can. You know, I'm not able to connect directly with people, and get that instant feedback. Learning to perform to uh, responses on a screen, um, as my current normal. I don't want to call it the new normal because I don't want to get used to it. I think that you know, there's a reason that every state in the country has at least one blues festival, and it's because every state needs to feel that good. You know, they know what it feels like to feel that good. So it everybody needs this. You know, the unfortunate reality is we've created the moniker on the music that it's not marketable. It's not mass marketing, and that's just not the truth. I mean, it's in every other advertisement. You'll hear blues music being played in the background. Every other theme song for the next new sitcom or drama show has blues music playing in the background. It's featured in almost every movie. There's a blues song. You know, you know, it's absolutely marketable, and we just have to decide that it's got value, the value that it should have. You know, historically, it is the root of what everybody's listening to. And so all American music is built from blues as that root. And so I think that it's time. You know, it's time again for there to be a surge of quality blues artists that are respected at the same level as, you know, the country artists, at the same level as hip hop artists, at the same level as, you know, whatever. You know, same thing with jazz. I mean, you know, the musicians that are creating that music are doing it from pure imagination, and then the skill that the tools that they've decided to pick up. You know, to me, it should be celebrated.
I couldn't agree more, and I certainly love the way that you articulate that, and you know, the way you're expressing that, because it's true. You know, original, real music is not appreciated. It's underappreciated, and I think that people like yourself are really, really doing the work to keep it alive. And I would absolutely love if you could play another song for us.
Let's go.
What you're doing is just so powerful, and I know that if you're making Jesse and I feel this good, I can only imagine how good you're going to make everyone else feel with this music.
Well, and we can talk about this a little bit after the song. Right before all of this crazy happened in the world, I had made a commitment, signed a record deal with good folks at Gulf Coast Records, Mike Zito, Guy Hale, and their crew. And I was actually, right now, I'm actually supposed to be at Greason Studios recording. As this week is supposed to be the week I'm supposed to be out there recording. This is one of the songs that I'll share this with you before I guess it gets shared with the rest of the world. Actually, you guys get to share this with the rest of the world. So this should be one of the new songs on the recording.
What a gift.
The song's called "You Should Have Never Left Me Alone." I want to tell you right now, baby, since you walking out that door. All your so-called good friends are coming around my way. They're calling me on the telephone, saying it's a shame to see a good man, that's me, baby, sitting home all by himself. Yeah. They're telling me how much better off I am now that you done put our love upon the shelf. I want to tell you right now, baby, I am. You should have never left me alone. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you, darling? You should have never left me alone. Now you're so-called good friend, well, they've been running around conspiring, spreading all kind of rumors and stories about me, talk about how I'm out there cheating and lying. When you heard them stories, baby, you did exactly what they wanted you to do. Yes, you did, child. You didn't come and talk to me at all, did you, baby? You just took their stories for the truth. I want to tell you right now, baby, I am. You should have never left me alone. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you, darling? You should have never left me alone, no.
Wow. Woohoo! That's incredible. Kevin, let's talk about Iowa for a second. What's the situation like with the coronavirus for the state? Thankfully, you're safe.
And it's a little bit, it's cool in some areas and it's a little dicey in others. The governor still has yet to, put the stay-at-home, the shelter-in order. And so there's a lot of people that are, in my opinion, misinterpreting that everything's okay. Luckily, there's a lot of businesses, a lot of business owners that realize everything's not okay. And the potential, as much as there is social media and everything, we still don't, and we feel like we're connected, we still don't have a window that we can look out of and see what it's like in New York. We can't see what it's like in California. we can't see what's going on in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and those places where the population is much more dense, and there's so many different reports that are out there. Confusion is going to happen. It's not like the area that I'm living in doesn't have a concentration of souls. I mean, there's a good 80,000 people in this area where I live, and we've had a few deaths in our area because of this virus, and it's scary. A lot of folks don't know. I have pretty significant asthma, and the idea of there being a virus that attacks folks that have, those kinds of conditions, that attacks them differently than it does if you don't, that's kind of scary. My wife and my daughters are remarkably protective of me, and I'm not the smartest person that's out there. So I wouldn't probably make the best decisions just on my own, because I'd look and I'd say, well, this needs to be done. But luckily I got people that are smarter than me around me, and that look out for me. And I want to encourage folks, especially in this areas, in areas where they feel like, we're in a small community. The last thing you want is for something that you've never experienced before and that you can't see, to come into your community and have this kind of an impact. And I think that's the part of it that confuses people is, it's not like, it's like being told, hey man, when you go around the corner, somebody gonna kill you. Well, which corner? Can't tell you that. What it look like? Can't tell you that. All you can do is be scared of turning corners. So,
oh my gosh.
To me, that's what this is for so many people is, I don't know what it is. I'm scared of it. What am I scared of? I don't know. And it turns into this really horrific feedback loop. And we get stuck in our own heads, and then we look at that one specific news source that we choose, either Twitter or Facebook or maybe CNN, maybe Fox, whatever it is that you tune into, and you get that and you consider that your truth. And unfortunately, the information that's being delivered from all of those different news sources are remarkably different.
Well,
and so,
with your help, Kevin, and the help of the other musicians, we're achieving our best version of getting the news out to people in a way that really will get them the information on the ground from real people living through it, as opposed to talking heads or an intellectualized version. And we're going to combine it with some really life-changing and life-saving music. So I can't imagine a better way to get the news. And you just gave
absolutely.
Our news, and now let's
Absolutely.
get on with some more music. Yeah.
We just lost, Mr. Prime, I believe they say, passed away due to complications from this. And, he may or may not have been in the best of health, but he may have gotten it from somebody who did not realize they even had it. That's the thing that's most scary about this, is that if you're somebody who's young and healthy, you're not going to show, you may not show symptoms, or you may, you may get really sick, or you may not. This is a surprise. There's a reason that it's called a pandemic, and it's because there's not enough information about it to give anybody a complete picture. But everybody should follow at least the bare bones instruction of, don't touch your face, wash your hands a whole bunch, use hand sanitizer, stay away from folks that you don't have to be around, and do your best to, do this all together separately.
Yes. Alone together.
Yeah.
That would be the best advice. Could you play another song for us?
Absolutely.
Please.
You know, since I wasn't able to go into the studio with the folks at at Gulf Coast and get a new recording, one of the things that they decided to do, I shared with them some of the recordings that I'd done long ago. You know, one of the recordings that I did was a children's music CD, and I recorded it live with 25 kids. My kids were little bitties at the time. This was about the time that I wrote the song "Your Smile," as a matter of fact. And so my daughters were both a part of this, to the extent they both could be. And you'll hear them on the recording. Actually, I think I'd sing "You Are My Sunshine" with my oldest daughter, and it's on the recording. But the CD's called "My Baby's Got the Blues," BABIES. So my little ones have got the blues, and it's songs that they know, but it's with a blues feel. And so, why don't we do something that's interactive? All right.
Okay.
All right. Since you guys have to be my animal sounds when we get to these parts. All right. We're gonna do my version of Old MacDonald. All right. Okay. So this is how it goes. So we'll you guys, let's get it organized out the gate. We'll do a cow, a chicken, and a sheep, and then we'll call it good. All right.
All right.
You guys got to be my cow, my chicken, my sheep. All right.
Oh man, I don't know about this one.
Let's do it.
See, old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm, he had himself a cow. E-I-E-I-O. Ready? With a move here and move there. Here a move, there a move. Everywhere's a move. Oh, MacDonald had a farm. I say E-I-E-I-O. On that farm, he had himself some chickens. E-I-E-I-O. With some
cluck,
here and some
cluck.
There.
Cluck.
Here's some
cluck.
There's some
Cluck everywhere.
Everywhere's the cluck. Oh, MacDonald had a farm. I say E-I-E-I-O. On that farm, he had some sheep. E-I-E-I-O. With some
ba
here and some
ba
there. Here's some. There's some. Yeah.
Lots of ba.
Oh, MacDonald, he had a farm. I say E-I-E-I-O.
All right. Man, thank you for making us part of that.
Version like that, Wheels on the Bus, the Funky Bluesy ABCs, a couple of songs that we made up on the spot because the kids were all being creative and fun. And so, yeah, and my renditions of getting through songs like "You Are My Sunshine" with my baby, the way she knew it at the time. And yeah, a lot of fun.
That's a
that
great
report
throwback.
is going to be coming out hopefully in the next week or two. Yeah.
That is incredible. I mean, what an idea. And I know that you also, if I remember correctly, you also wrote a book for kids on how to play the harmonica, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I did. It's called Just Play It, and it's West Music Company out of Coralville, Iowa. Actually, they're the ones that published that book, and Honer endorsed it as a learning tool for kids. It's actually a classroom method book, and so when people come to me as absolute beginners on the harmonica, it's what I use to teach them because it's how I taught myself. The basic layout of how it is. And it's, I don't know that, I don't think that it's anything that's genius. I think that it's something that other folks have probably done. I just wrote it down is all.
Well, it's important to be involved.
Help. As anything you can do to help is good. Expressing yourself musically is, hard for some people. And if you break it down in its simplest form, then, it's for everyone at that point.
Absolutely. The harmonica is a wonderfully simple but not easy instrument. You got technically 10 holes, 20 sounds. And then, from there, you personalize it. And, the folks that everybody admire that are harmonica players are able to personalize that instrument in ways that give them, it becomes as unique as a fingerprint or a signature, within a few notes that you're listening to this person, within a few notes. And the same with guitar players, within a few notes, that it's Sonny Boy Williamson, that it's Junior Wells, that it's James Cotton, that it's Little Walter, I hope to, I hope that I can find that unique spot where folks go, oh yeah, that's Burt.
Well, I think you have with your music as a whole. The harmonica, people don't really focus on something that Charlie Musselwhite told me when I interviewed him years ago that's so obvious, but the rest of us don't focus on it. You can go on YouTube and you can hear someone play guitar and you can see what's going on the fretboard. But with harmonica, you don't have those cues. So picking that up from a video is a different experience, right?
Well, I learned something with the harmonica, teaching myself. The one thing that it was tough for me to do was to figure out how to hit the note that I wanted to hit. And so I found out that if I held the harmonica and I covered up the top numbers, all harmonicas have a set of numbers across the top. If you cover up everything but the one that you want to hit, you touch the tip of your finger to the inside of your nose, you're right there, and drop straight down. And so what that did was that allowed me to get a room full of kids to be in the same spot, basically. And because the harmonica is kind of a chordal instrument, close is good. I always tell them, it used to be the saying was close only counts and horseshoes and hand grenades. Well, harmonica works too. Because if the note you're looking for is in the string of notes that you hit, it's still musical. And it's going to sound
beautiful.
Okay. And so getting kids to let go of the anxiety and just play and have some fun with an instrument as opposed to being told, no, you're doing that wrong. No, that's not right. Can you imagine if somebody would have told, Little Walter, oh, no, that's not right. What you're doing right there. You're hitting 3 or 4 notes at the same time. You need to step away from that and hit this one individual note. If somebody would have told him that, that's, that would have robbed the world of some of the greatest sounds that it'll ever hear. And so,
I think that's a wonderful mission to help people play in any capacity, because I've become a firm believer over time that every person on earth needs a connection with music. It could be the wire that's nailed to the side of the barn in Mississippi. It could be, banging on an empty bottle in another part of the world. But I believe we all ought to be making sounds. And it might be in the privacy of our own homes that no one ever hears. And it might be sitting down, if you have a piano, and plunking middle C a bunch of times with different rhythms and the same finger. But that connection with music, we all need that.
If you set a little kid down in a room, a baby in a room with a bunch of instruments, they'll go to the ones that make sense to them, and they'll play. And something magic happens. You have that moment where you hear something that you recognize as music. It's not just noise. It could be a basic rhythm. It could be, a repeating pattern. But babies will always do that, and it's amazing to watch. I've seen a handful of videos where they put a handful of kids and and these handful of different instruments and things that are kid safe, and the kids all go to them, and eventually something starts to happen where it almost sounds like a song, because the kids are all hearing everything, and it's just cool to me, and there's one written form of communication that is universal, and that's music. When music's written down, a G note is a G note is a G note, no matter where you're at on the planet, and so that's the one thing that getting an opportunity to travel a little bit internationally, and going to places where my language is not the primary language, and being accepted and treated in a way because of what I do that I would never have expected. That blows my mind, and it proves that over and over again that emotional part of blues, that is a universal language.
All right. Can you play us something else in that universal language?
Absolutely. Let's go. This is another song that I hope is going to be a part of the new CD. A bunch of years ago, I got the opportunity to be in an off-Broadway play, typecasting. I had to play blues. Had to play blues singer in an off-Broadway play.
Of course.
And I was in New York for like 40 days, and every morning before rehearsal, I'd walk into this little bagel shop, and I'd get my little coffee and bagel, and I'd sit at the window, and I'd look out the window, and I realized pretty quick that I never saw the same faces pass by. And in my head, this story started to emerge of what if somebody, love at first sight hit somebody in a place like this, where you may or may not see that person again. What would that do? And so in my head, this became the story. This song's called Something Special About You. I see you walking by my door in a smile, 'cause I like what I see, so I run outside. I try to catch you, but you've already passed me by. I go back inside, but I can't seem to get you, baby, off my mind. I keep thinking about you, wondering about you, don't even know your name. But somehow I feel my life has changed, because I feel the need to let you know, baby, that you move me in a special way. I just want one chance to say that there is something special about you, baby. Make me smile each and every time I think about your pretty face. There is something special about you, baby. Make me smile and want to get to know you just a little bit better. And maybe someday, baby, you pass by my way again, and I'ma run outside and I'ma grab you by your hand, and I'ma tell you right there, right then, darling, just how much I wanna be your man, baby. Oh, and I know that just might scare you away, but that's a chance I have to take. I can't go another second, minute, hour, darling, without knowing your name, 'cause you see, you're some kind of superstar. At least I think that you are, because you shine so much brighter than all the others by far. There is something special about you, baby. Make me smile each and every time I think about your pretty face. And there is something special about you, baby. Make me smile and want to get to know you just a little bit better. And maybe someday, baby, I'll see you and you'll see me, and our eyes will meet from across a crowded room, and I'll smile, you'll smile back at me. Then I tell you exactly what it is you and me are gonna do, honey. Oh, we're gonna walk up to each other, grab each other by the hand. I'm gonna say something kind of cool about you, and you're gonna look at me and say, hey, baby, I feel the same way about you too, and then I'm gonna tell you about that day when you pass right by my way, and then you know exactly how long, darling, I've been waiting to see this. Something special about you, baby. Make me smile each and every time I think about your pretty face, and there is something special about you, baby. Make me smile and want to get to know you just a little bit better. It's something special about you, baby. Make me smile each and every time I think about your pretty face, and there is something special about you, baby, that makes me smile. I want to get to know you.
Wow.
Wow, Kevin. My goodness.
Yeah, that's one that I'm hoping that they go, yeah, let's do that one.
I certainly
Just
think
beautiful.
they should. So when people think about blues, I think initially they think of, Clarksdale or Chicago, and they may not think about Iowa as much. But you're an Iowa blues historian. Would you like to tell us a little more about that?
Well, we forget in our history that there was, there were certain routes that all people had to take in order to get wherever. And I was kind of in the middle of the country, so there were hubs for the railroad lines that spun, the spinner houses. So those hubs, like in Old Wine, Iowa, those hubs, like there's one for the Rock Island line in Waterloo, Iowa, where they would turn the cars and get them to go in different directions. There were, when slaves were freed, there was a lot of businesses that recruited the South to bring people to Iowa to work on the docks in places like Clinton, Iowa, in places like Dubuque, in places like Davenport, John Deere, a lot of meat packing, Rath meat packing, a lot of different places that were located in the state of Iowa, recruited from the South and brought a lot of black workers in to keep labor costs down was the initial thought, but they also needed more people to work than they had more jobs than they had people in these areas. A lot of those places, they wanted to put up these factories, but a lot of the communities weren't populated with enough density in order to fill all the positions. So they brought workers in, and so that extended the Chitlin Circuit into the state of Iowa. And so there were places like Burlington, Iowa, Clinton, Iowa, Davenport, Waterloo, Des Moines, Fort Dodge, different places that had relatively dense populations of African Americans. There was actually a place right after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. It was called Buxton, Iowa, and it was a settlement that was purchased. It was land that was purchased by a collection of freed slaves, and it was known for a long time as a Black utopia because the entire infrastructure was minority based, and all of there were a lot of immigrants. No one was shunned, so there ended up being a lot of immigrants, Irish immigrants, a lot of Asian immigrants that ended up in this town, Buxton. They were a coal mining town in western Iowa. And all of those things were happening within the state of Iowa. And so the music absolutely had roots here. You know, it had a place, and it was being heard and delivered by many of the greats, and it connected. The one thing that blues has proven itself to be is remarkably geographic, because it shows up somewhere, and when it goes away, people play what they thought they heard, because it had that kind of an impact. I want to do this. And so that's why you can hear 15 people sing the song, Woke Up This Morning, and 15 times it's going to sound different. And, you know, and it's supposed to. I mean, it's a folk art. And so as it gets passed on, as it gets, you know, through that line of telephone, you know, that game of telephone, every place geographically sounds a little bit different. And so there's just the state of Iowa, though that it's always been here, it's never created a footprint, a thumbprint, if you will, of what it's supposed to sound like if it comes from here. And that's good for me as an artist, because it makes my palette, my canvas, excuse me, as I create my art, remarkably blank. You know, there's no preconceived. If I was from Chicago, I'd have to sound like I played Chicago blues. If I was from Mississippi, I'd have to sound like the history of I'd have to sound like the history of Texas blues if I was from Texas. I don't have that being from here. And so I've got a much broader stroke than a lot of other artists get to have. And it's not that they can't do it. You know, you look at folks like, to me, Eric Gales. Eric is painting with a brush that is as wide as the planet and right now. And it's, to me, that's beautiful. But every piece of emotion pours through every note that he plays, in my opinion. You know, and that's the constant. That emotional connection is the constant. And so that's, you know, I've been blessed to be surrounded by 360 degrees of influence. You know, I've got 4 hours, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Omaha, you know. So I've got these hubs that are these major market hubs around me. And so I get a feel for what's there, you know. But all of those things get to be an influence, but I get to do it the way I hear it.
And what you put together, drawing on all those influences, is beautiful, and it's uniquely yours. Could I ask you for one more before we go?
Absolutely.
It sounds so good.
Absolutely, man. Let's, you know, I think this is a thing that the rest of the world can. This is a little song I put together. This is on the recording that I did with Little Village Foundation. This song's called Real Love. And I think it's something that everybody can use right now. So. When I think about it, babe, it's been a long, long time looking for a love like you found me. You kept asking for it, praying for it, hoping for it. And when you found it, babe, you wouldn't open up your eyes so you could see. I was right here, my dear, I'm ready to give you more. Still, I had so much in store, honey. You never needed enough. I better open up your eyes and glad we found each other, and a real love, baby. Say the real love, the kind of love that we should hold on to is the real love, baby. Well, oh, it's the kind of love I want to share with nobody else but you. When I think about It's been a long, long time searching for a love like I found in you. I kept asking for it, praying for it, hoping for it. And when I found it, baby, I wasn't sure what it was that I was supposed to do. But now I'm older now, wiser now, and I understand some way, somehow. I got to keep you, baby, here in my life. I never needed enough. I finally understand why there is no need to look no further for real love, baby. Is it a real love? Kind of love that we should hold on to. It's a real love, baby. Well. Whoa, it's the kind of love I want to share with nobody else but you. Yeah. And when we think about it, baby, oh, we spent a long, long time searching for a love like we found in one another. And now a question we both know we need to ask ourselves. But either one of us should go on any further. Are we dreaming about a future? Or stuck living in the past? See, baby, these are the questions both of us know we're afraid to ask. And I just know, honey, I don't want no other. I'm so glad, child, we finally found each other in a real love, baby. Is it a real love? Kind of love that we should hold on to is a real love, baby. Well. Oh, it's the kind of love I want to share with nobody else but you. I said it's a real love. Hey, it's a real love, baby. Kind of love we should hold on to is a real love, honey. Well, no need to look no further. I better open up your eyes and be glad we found each other. I said, day-o, mama, G-I-O, don't look any further. I'll say day-o, don't look any further. I say it's strange when you think of the chances that we both be in the state of mind too cool to be careless. We're looking for the right thing, oh baby. Don't you look no further. I say day-o, mama G-I-O, Don't you look no further. I say day-o, tell me Ohio, yeah.
Yeah, standing ovation. I'll tell you what.
I love that song.
Yeah, man. Maybe almost as much as you do. Now we're going to meet someone
This is my
important.
guy right
Huh?
here.
All right.
Yes.
Who's this?
This is my
Oh,
guy.
hi.
Hey there.
yeah.
He's like, I'm done with it.
Thank you for visiting. Yeah, he loves the music too.
He left.
Hey,
No,
So-
this is not for me, Dad. This is not for me.
yeah. So Kevin Burt, thank you. You just shared some real love with the world, and I'll tell you what, this has been one of the most uplifting times we've spent with anyone. I can't thank you enough for taking the time today to do it. And I think we also owe a debt of gratitude to Nicole Burt for providing on-site engineering assistance, incredible camera work, lighting expertise, recording insights, and all sorts of things that have helped us do this. So thank you so much, Kevin.
This whole outfit, man. I lift heavy things. She knows what needs to be lifted. She's
okay. That's the best arrangement of all. Boy, what a blessing to have you and to have our audience be able to connect with you this way. We can't thank you enough for bringing this healing to so many people in so many places where they need it very badly right now. Thank you, Kevin.
I want to say thank you to you both. As a touring artist right now, looking at the economic devastation that's happened across the country, the one thing that touring artists kind of count on is people having quote unquote disposable income and being able to pay to be entertained. In order for that to happen, they also have to be able to buy drinks and buy a dinner and sometimes do some other things and buy tickets to go to small theaters and communities where this type of thing doesn't exist all the time. Everybody's got their favorite local musicians, but that thing that makes you feel a little different doesn't come through all the time. And there's going to be a shift in the landscape, I fear, if people aren't conscious of the fact that your local community theater needs you right now too. To be conscious of that they exist and to do what you can to help them out. If you don't have money, if you can volunteer when they open the doors again, they are going to be able to use that help. For restaurants and venues, bars that have touring artists coming through from time to time, they're going to need your support. I don't want everybody to run out and become, deadbeat alcoholics by any stretch, but to be conscious of the fact that right now many of those places are offering dinners that are drive-up pickup services. I encourage you when you can, order those chicken wings from that bar that you used to go to and go and pick them up. Let them bring them to your car. And do what you can right now to help those places that are local to your community and keep your community as a unique thing. Last thing you want all of those things to be are cool memories. Those are the worst kinds of memories. Remember that place we used to be able to go to and see live music? That's a terrible story to have to tell. So I encourage everybody, wherever you are, we're making a big push with this I'm working with a lot of the folks that don't tour as much as I do that are in my area, to do as much as we can to direct people to those venues that support music. Let us come in and play when we can. We're trying to make sure that our community stays conscious to order from those places, that are welcoming to the musicians to come in and perform. So I encourage everybody, man, pay attention to your community and help out where you can, when you can, but stay safe and stay well.
Thank you. A wonderful and important message for all of us. Thank you again, Kevin Burt. We love you, and take care. Stay in good health, and we can't wait to see you and give you a standing ovation in person.
Big love, y'all. Thank you so much.
Love you. Take care.
Appreciate
Bye.
you.